Okay, so I saw No Way Home, and for a little bit of backstory, I know I'm a little late to the party, but my good friend Elijah wanted to see it with me. Elijah was not vaccinated, so I waited to see it with him. And I waited and I waited and I waited because he didn't want to get the vaccine, so we couldn't see it. And when he finally decides to get the vaccine, he not only gets COVID, but the mandate gets updated to now we need two vaccines. You need to be fully vaccinated, which at that point, the movie would probably have left theaters, so I had to just go see it. Got the okay from him, I saw it, and let me just say, I really, really, really like it. If there was ever a film, right, for people that enjoyed Spider Man, and if there was ever a film with, or that rewards you, let's say, for watching other films and just having background knowledge, not even on the other films, but of the culture around the films too, with memes and stuff, it is amazing. It is so good. I love films that reward you for like knowing more about other films, about like the whole universe and everything. It manages to bring so much of like all of Spider-Man together in a way that is extremely hard to do with the amount they brought in. It does it really, really well for the amount they're dealing with. It's like people thought in Infinity War and Endgame, like, oh, how could they bring all these heroes together and have them like have good screen time each? Well, first of all, they split it up into like, basically three separate movies with Infinity War and then Endgame Part 1 and 2. So they had a lot of time to develop stuff. And this is a pretty decently long movie. It's like 2.5 hours. But there's no point in the movie where I thought it was dragging or it was slow. I actually enjoyed every part of the movie. I was not thinking it's slow at any point. I actually really fucking enjoyed every part. It was so good. And like I said, it does something not many movies could do, and that's bring in a lot of moving pieces and do it really well. But anyway, um, I don't think any other film or most films can have this much from different mediums be brought in and just reward longtime fans of the series. Now, the good part is you can go into this movie without knowing that stuff because they do give blanket explanations and like bare minimum explanations for like all the characters from the different universes, but knowing more about them, there's definitely like moments where characters are interacting or characters are talking. And I'm not going to spoil too much. Obviously, you see Doc Ock and Green Goblin are there, but you have characters from Andrew Garfield, from Tom Holland, and from Tobey Maguire's universe here. So it's like just seeing them interact and seeing callbacks to like certain characters in the same universes that never would have interacted in the first place and now can, and seeing the interactions they have, it means so much more to actual Spider-Man fans and the movie Spider-Man fans. It was amazing. The pacing of the movie was great. The fight scenes are really good. And I always say this, and this is why I'm excited for the Doctor Strange movie. When Doctor Strange does anything or anything involved with him, the graphics just go stupid mode. Like, they take the graphics, they take the animators or the CGI artists or whatever, they probably slap them in a room, lock the door, and just fill it with water slowly. And they're like, if you don't finish, you're gonna die, so make it perfect. And by God, do they make that shit lovely. The fight scene with Doctor Strange, or whenever Doctor Strange, does anything with magic, it's just so well choreographed and so crazy. It is amazing. There's not many bad things I could say about this movie. Like, it's so good. Now, the one bad thing I will say, though, is that Peter's friends, Zendaya, who is Mary Jane, and Ned, who's a fucking asshole, or I would like to think the actor's an asshole in real life, because he didn't want to be in a game because they didn't offer him enough money. Like, you don't have enough, you fucking asshole. But anyway, I feel like aside from like one or two kind of key plot moments, I feel like they're shoehorned in to doing stuff with Spider-Man Tom Holland that they really have no business doing, and it's kind of just there to show that like, hey, we're friends, we're with you, we're always here with you, we're gonna help you. And it's like they really don't do anything in most situations, albeit maybe I could think of two off the top of my head where like they were there, or they were required for some major plot points, but it's like I feel like that could have been resolved in a different way that didn't need them, but they just added them as the catalyst for those plot points just because they needed to say like, hey, we want to progress Spider-Man's, or Tom Holland, Peter Parker's relationship with them, and we want to show they're important. I felt like they weren't really, and it was a little forced, and they really didn't do anything aside from two major stuff that they didn't have to do. They just wrote it that way. I don't know. I feel like the friends basically didn't need to have as big a part in the film, and it was really kind of forced. But I think the ending is great. The ending to the movie also was great because it opens up so much. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil stuff, but it really opens up stuff not only with this universe, but for them to do stuff like with other Spider-Man stuff. And I really think they were influenced by like Into the Spider-Verse. I think Into the Spider-Verse did so like well that they kind of tried to make it an actual like live action form. And if that was the case, I think they succeeded. But it's like Into the Spider-Verse, I feel the same vibes here where it's like, oh, Spider-Man fans from like comics and stuff are really gonna like it, where movie fans are really gonna like this movie particularly. It's so good. It rounds things out well. It leaves some questions. It leaves some like cliffhangers. But overall, the ending was really, really good. Now, one gripe I have, and it was like a big annoyance. It's not a major part, and it's not like it really fucks with anything in the film. It's just the thing that pet peeved me. One thing I really don't understand is Peter is a genius. He's a genius level person capable of like messing with nanobots, creating all this cool technology. Like it has been shown in the comics and in the films that Peter is a genius level person. He is smart. He's no slacker. And they do kind of explain it, in my opinion, in a lazy way. But it's like, he has to do all these things for like school and stuff that just didn't make sense to me. Like, how the fuck does he need to study if he's like messing with nanobots, AI? And in the film, he creates like different serums and stuff where it's like, unless you're a master chemist, how the fuck do you know how to do this? Like, I feel like Peter is so smart and doesn't struggle with anything. Like, literally what happens is like, okay, I need to solve all these complicated problems in like the span of a couple hours. He doesn't even need to do that, but he does it anyway. He's like, okay, I'm gonna like solve like these problems that are really, really big problems in the span of a couple hours that if anyone else could have done this, multiple Spider-Man films wouldn't have happened. And he just does it. He just solves it. And it's like, what the fuck? And they provide some explanation and some reasoning behind it, which you have to suspend the disbelief a little bit. I'll take it. But specifically with the stuff for school, where like he has to test for certain schools, test for certain colleges to see if he'll get in. How the fuck are you a genius and you don't get in? Now again, they explain that too. But, and I'm not going to spoil why, but why the fuck does he eventually have to take a GED test? Again, it's explained, but I just feel like it's showing him like that he has to study for it. How the fuck are you a genius making AI nanobots this shit with Stark technology, which stupid people can't do, and you gotta study for a GED? Like, it just bothered me so much. It really, really upset me. That, like, one thing really, really upset me. And another thing that kind of didn't make sense was, like, there's obviously, different villains from different universes here. I'm not going to say who in case people don't know. But, I mean, realistically, with how long the film's been out, and if you've seen the trailers, you should know. But some of the villains, right, their motives literally contradict each other. And there's a point where all of them team up, for the most part, and they're like, okay, we want to do this goal. Which doesn't make sense, because one of the villains literally has a goal opposite of all the other ones, and they're still helping him, even though it's to their detriment. I don't want to spoil it, but the way the goal works, right, is like, hey, we want to do this thing, which will result in something good for us, but bad for you. And he's like, okay, I want to do the opposite. Oh, okay, let's fight Spider-Man together. And I don't know, once we get it, I guess we'll fight each other. We don't know. I mean, it never gets to that point, but like, it doesn't make sense why some of the villains are teaming up when they want like something that's opposite. I mean, I guess they have a shared interest to a point, but it really didn't make sense to me. Like some of the villains just felt there to be there, like they just want to cause chaos and be stupid. And a lot of coincidences happen in this film, like right where Spider-Man is, two villains just magically show up because they're right there and they just happen to be there at the same time randomly in all of the world. This is where they were at. And it's like, again, there's moments in this film where you have to suspend your disbelief. It's not huge suspensions, but it's like it's a little bit of a stretch sometimes, but with how good the film was, I can overlook it. And to end off on one really positive note, they made some of the villains like crazy good writing wise. Like, and I'll just say it. It was Green Goblin. Green Goblin in this film has such a good role and a good ideology, and they really show how good he is as like a villain, because he always, even in the first one, he made some decent points to Spider-Man, and this one he makes decent points to like the villains. And I honestly thought he was going to be like the leader supreme and like cause me to be a villain with how he was talking. I was like, yo, this guy is crazy. I really like what they show. It's not even a complaint. I just wish the movie was longer so we could see more. I wanted to see more of the villains interacting, because we've almost never had the chance to see these characters ever interact, because it's almost impossible for them to. Either they're dead when the other one is alive, with the case for Green Goblin and Otto Octavius. So like, Otto comes after Green Goblin. Doc Ock is after Green Goblin dies, and he knows this, so he's interacting with Norman like, what the fuck? Like, you're alive. Holy shit. Like, I know you're dead, but now you're alive. And it's so cool. It's so good. But Green Goblin, like, really makes good points and really, like, resonates with a lot of stuff. And they really show how strong he is, too. Like, Willem Dafoe, he looks old, right? But goddamn, he does not, show it when he fights in the film. Green Goblin's going crazy, freaking smash and stuff. Like, I think this is one of the few times, aside from maybe in the trilogy, where like I thought Spider-Man was just getting clubbed like a fucking piñata at a Mexican party. I was like, this guy is getting hammered. Not to say there's moments where like, Spider-Man isn't doing good, because he definitely has some moments where he is good. But my God, in like a one-on-one situation with Green Goblin, you see certain moments in this film where Peter gets rocked, and like if it wasn't for like things that saved him, he would have been done. Like, it is actually crazy how badly he gets rocked in this film sometimes. It is dark sometimes too. Like, this film, it didn't make me feel as much as Fate Zero did, but damn, it was like, holy shit, okay, there's a little bit of feeling here. But overall, it was an amazing movie. I suggest, if you haven't seen the Spider-Man films, to watch them. They're all decent. This is really good, and if you're a fan of Spider-Man, if you end up liking them, it's a great watch. It really rewards you. And even if you're not, it's still a great film overall. I think it was a great thing. Awesome film. But I'll leave it here because I, again, don't have too much time. So I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope everyone's having a better day than I am, because I'm never really having a good day. And I'll be out of here, now to make patch notes and slave away even more. Hope you enjoyed.